Hey, it's Don Skaggs with Empowered Inventing, the one place where we try to help you help other people by taking your innovations, some sound wisdom, and the right opportunity, mixing it together and turning them into real things like products and businesses, and to help you to turn those things into things that's going to make money. So now, today I want to talk to you a little bit about how to keep your invention or your startup or your business low risk. And the reason I do this, the reason I'm always talking about this kind of thing is I've seen way too many inventors and entrepreneurs out there that'll end up just plopping down $10,000 or more on things that they had no idea whether they were ever going to see their money again or not. They didn't know if they were going to get any ROI. ROI is return on investment. For those of you that might not be familiar with that term, they didn't know that they were buying things that they didn't know were going to make them any money or not. But they were betting that, but they didn't know that. So there's several things you could spend too much money on, especially if you don't have a lot of money in the beginning. And if you spend up all your money in the beginning, you're going to spend them on things that are probably not going to work out as well. You have to have a good strategy about this, like the kinds we teach at Empowered Inventing. But I want to talk to you about three things right now that are things that you could just end up spending too much money on, but that you don't have to if you don't need to. And you can make these things, again, what we call lean or low risk. And one is patents. We teach inventors that if at all possible, go low risk, go lean. And patents is a really, really good place to do this, because I've seen a lot of inventors, the first thing they want to do is rush out to an attorney, any attorney, or an attorney with a fountain in their lobby. And I know there's some attorneys out there with fountains in their lobby, and they're just going to be really upset with me. But I'm sorry. That's if an attorney, if you're an independent inventor and you don't have a boatload of money that you're wanting to just throw into the wind, if you go to an attorney and they've got a fountain in the yard, in their lobby, you're likely paying for part of that fountain. So. But let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about patents, how to stay low risk. And one thing is to do a low cost search. And you can do a low cost search. I always say, you want to do some searches yourself. And again, we teach how to do that. So you can have these searches done at a low cost if you shop around and if you look for the right value at the right price. And you can do a lot of it yourself if you learn. So another thing to keep these patent costs low is to file a provisional patent first. And I'll see a lot of inventors, they want to rush out and get the big non-provisional. First thing they want to do. No, don't do that. You don't know if you have a market. You don't know if you're going to make any money. You've plunked down all that money at the big lawyer's office. Like I was saying before, you can end up flushing that money because you're not ready for that. You don't know if you have a market yet. But fortunately, here in the U.S., at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, they have a special program for filing what is called a provisional patent first. And you can do this yourself. I've seen a lot of inventors do it yourself. Now, there's different ways you can do it, or at least would want you to try to write it yourself first. And there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that in a minute when I'm talking about the non-provisional. But try to file your provisional patent first. Provisional patent, if you file it yourself or as what they call a pro se inventor. Pro se, by the way, is a Latin term. It just means for oneself or on one's own behalf. In other words, you're doing it yourself. You're not going through an attorney to do it. You're just doing it yourself. And again, a lot of seasoned inventors will do this with a provisional patent. I've seen them do it. Or they'll write it themselves, then they'll take it to an attorney, which again is that strategy I want to talk to you about in a minute. But you can file this yourself. If you file it yourself, it is right now, I think the current price to file it online electronically yourself as a micro entity is about $70. That's a lot better than $7,000. So there's ways to do this that keeps it a low risk. Now, what does a provisional patent do? Well, it gives you 1 year. It holds your foot in the door with that IP of what you've written for 1 year and says for 1 year, yeah, I've got 1 year to answer one question. Is this going to make me any money? So, and it's the fastest year of your life, so you have to be prepared when you drop that dime and drop that provisional patent and get started with it. That's another thing we teach. But you can do this, and you can write it yourself. You can write it as a pro se inventor, and you know, sometimes you can get some help and you can learn things. But if you write it yourself and send it in yourself, then you can save yourself a lot of money. Now, another strategy, and especially when you're getting ready to file for the non-provisional, what I call the kind of the big enchilada patent at the end of that year, after you file a provisional, is you write it like you're writing it yourself. Pretend that there are no lawyers, you can't get a lawyer, and you write it yourself the best you can, pretending that you have to file it yourself. And then, once you get as much of it as you can write it the best you can, then take it to 3 attorneys. You treat attorneys just like you do a plumber or an electrician or any other tradesman. That's my philosophy, is you go to 3 and you get 3 quotes. And in business, I always had a mantra: we get 3 quotes for everything around here. So you go get 3 quotes, and that's going to help you in many, many ways. You're going to get to know these attorneys and who are good. You're going to get to see a little bit of contrast to one attorney over another attorney, who's a good one to work with, maybe who's not so good. Also get good references from people that you know, especially. That's why these inventor groups are so important. So get 3 quotes and do as much of the work you can. And the other thing is, if you're doing a lot of the work and you take it to them, number 1, you're going to be communicating to them much better on what you want in a patent. Number 2, it should save you thousands of dollars. And if it doesn't, you're at the wrong attorney's office. So, okay, so patents, you can make it low risk. Another thing is prototypes. And we always say, make your own Frankentype first. If you don't know what a Frankentype is, check out some of our videos. We talk about this a lot. It's where you snug out to the graveyard of broken products and spare parts. You've used glue sticks and duct tape. The end result is a prototype that only an inventor could love, but you've taken that first important step of inventing in the right way. You've built it, you've proven that it works, and you haven't spent a ton of money. So make a Frankentype. Frankentype's just for you, just so you can test and prove the functionality. And you're going to go through a lot of iterations, so make it as cheap as you possibly can. Once you get that, then you want to make a good demo type. This is something prettied up that you can show. You've got the functionality down pat, and now you're going to take it and show people based on what you've learned. So, but go cheap when you do this. You don't have to spend a ton of money to do these things until you're past a lot of these iterations, because they can get expensive if you do a lot of them. So that makes it very, very low risk if you're not spending a lot of money there. Another, especially when you're in business, you're getting ready to ramp up, you're wanting to go into production, and you want to say, oh yeah, well, we need some plastic parts for this. Let's go have some tooling made. If at all possible, do not avoid tooling. Avoid tooling until you know that you have orders or cash in hand. Because tooling is very expensive. I have seen inventors and entrepreneurs spend thousands of dollars, $10,000, and they have bought tooling, thousands and thousands of dollars, they bought tooling for products that never sold the first item. Don't do that. So you know where you're at. If at all possible, use what is commonly referred to in the military as COTS, C-O-T-S. And I love this term. It's called components off the shelf. And these are parts or components that are just hiding in other industries that might be perfect fits for yours. And it's okay to use that for a new purpose, because you're all of a sudden have invented a new use for this part. I know one inventor I'm working with right now, and he's in one industry that has nothing to do with hot tubs, and guess what? We found a part that fits. I mean, he had one 3D printed, and he thought, oh, if I have to mold and make these, it's going to cost me thousands. No. We found something in the hot tub industry, in that kind of general area, that actually was a perfect fit for what he was doing. I can't tell you what it is right now, but I will when when we go to market. So, but these parts are just, they're hiding in plain sight all around you. Don't miss these things. They're opportunities to keep your costs low, and if you keep your costs low, your risk of losing that money is going to stay low. There's smart ways to do this. Let us help you do that. So avoid tooling, if at all possible, and develop, when you're developing things, as much as you can develop your product using existing components that are on hand, the better off you'll be. We did this in my business. We made things, I could make 100, I could make 1,000, I could make 10,000 of these, and we could do it with all components off the shelf. We did not have to build from scratch anything, but we had extremely unique products that sold very well in a niche marketplace, and you can too. So anyway, I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing. Check out our website, empoweredinventing.com, and I will look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, one of our online classes, or on the next video.